You're listening to episode 2 of the Speak Easies.
Hello, friends, fans, and listeners. This is episode 2 of the Speak Easies. I'm your co-host, Grady Thomson.
I'm Polo Delos Santos.
And I'm Cade Petrie.
And last week, the World Cup started in Russia. And, I don't know about you two, but I really am a big fan of soccer. And I follow the United States national team. But unfortunately, this year they did not make it into the World Cup. And so I sort of had to decide, who am I going to root for? Because obviously I want to watch the World Cup. So here's the question. Who are you guys going to be rooting for in this year's World Cup?
Well, Grady, I am actually a huge fan of soccer, like yourself. I used to play soccer. I was a midfielder, then I broke my knee, and that was the end of that. So it's not time to reminisce about the glory days. But I am, since Lithuania is not in the World Cup this year, which is incredibly disheartening to me, I am going to be going for Iceland this year, and I have a fun story about that.
All right.
A couple years ago, this would be summer of 2016. So, World Cup 2016.
Yes.
I don't remember where it was.
It was in Brazil.
Okay, yeah, Brazil. Yeah, right? Yeah, okay.
Sorry,
never mind. Anyway, I was in Paris because I was on a trip with an orchestra. We were touring Europe. We went to 7 countries in 2 weeks. It was really cool. Anyway, we were in Paris, and my roommates and I, because we had to share a hotel room. I slept on a cot, which was stained with blood, but that's a different story. Anyway, it was so great because it was like I think it was like 11 p.m. and like our curfew was technically like 10, so we weren't allowed to leave the room. But us three in our room and the 3 dudes in the room next to us, we were all just chilling, watching the World Cup. And every time something cool happened, we'd like quickly look out the door, then run over to the other person's door, and then we'd let them in, and then we'd all talk about that for 30 seconds, and then we'd go back to our room so that the chaperones wouldn't catch us. That was fun. But what I'm getting to is that the game that was on that night was Iceland versus England. And obviously, Iceland was the underdog there. But I remember that they won.
Well, maybe.
I
don't know.
I remember.
I don't
Man,
know.
listen,
England could be sort of
England
bad.
has a great
Well,
team.
sort of. Sometimes.
I remember this year they were definitely the underdog. That's all I know.
Okay.
And we always go for the underdog in our hotel room. Listen, if you're ever sharing a hotel room with me, we're going to be going for the underdog, man. I know it's an oddly specific circumstance, but I'm just warning you about it.
So, all right.
Yeah, so Iceland is going to be my team this year.
Yeah, all right.
And we're going to
That's understandable. How about you, Polo?
Well, I honestly don't watch soccer. I watch
Disappointing.
I watch other sports, and during the World Cup, unfortunately, Le Mans 24 Hours was on, so I was not watching the World Cup. I was watching that.
All right.
But
on another note, what is Le Mans?
It is a 24-hour motor car race.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was watching that. But if I was to pick a team, I would pick Peru. Why do I pick Peru? Because I like their flag.
A man after Grady's heart.
Okay, so that's perfect because I was just about to go into my team. So obviously, like I said, I'm an avid fan of the United States national team. Unfortunately, they were not good enough to get into the World Cup this year. But for this World Cup, I will be rooting for Japan. And here's why. If you know me, I'm a big fan of flags. Well-designed flags. It's like, wow, man, good for you. But anyway, Japan, first of all, its flag is just iconic. It's like, wow, so simple. Yeah, it's just amazing. But beyond their flag, they have these things called prefecture flags, which are essentially counties or states, I believe, in Japan. But they all have their own flags. And it's the same idea as the national flag because it's a solid color and then a circular symbol in the flag. But overall, it's just all their flags are just so well designed. And that's what does it for me, I mean, really, I look at Japan. It's just there's no words. I can't put it into words. It's just so well designed flags, and I think out of all the nations, they have the best flag, in my opinion.
Out of all of them, period. Out of the
Oh,
like
out of all the
190
all
that
the
Yeah,
exist.
or
no
are
no
we
World,
talking
World
about
Cup.
just the
Yeah.
World
Yeah.
Cup?
Oh, just the
And
World
so
Okay.
Cup. Okay.
and actually, I'm happy because as of right now,
Yeah.
Japan is at the top of their group, so it looks like they're still going to advance. Fingers
Oh,
crossed.
there you go.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
and it
Fantastic.
really is. But it's interesting. This brings the thought to mind of sort of identity and states. And you know how I was talking about the Japanese prefectures and how that sort of states? Well, that sort of reminds me of
Yeah.
another big issue that came up this week, which, if you haven't heard of it, there is the proposal to split California into 3 states,
Oh yes.
which
Yes.
is just
Since that will affect us.
yes. If you don't know, if you're listening to this out of state, well, we all live in California, so that's something that would affect all of us, and it got its number of signatures to be put on the ballot in November. So us Californians will be voting on that, and it's just interesting. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the 3 California proposal?
Okay, do you want to take this over?
Oh, I was gonna let you, but I guess I will take it. I know that there was a proposal some years ago for a similar split like this. I think it was just 2 states, but the point is that this has been an issue in Californians' minds for a long time,
Mhm.
you know? Um,
Yeah.
Personally, I think I will be voting for the split. I think that the regions they're trying to divide California into, first off, California just has so many people that it's this huge player in
It is,
national politics. I know
yeah,
we've got
it
the
is a
electoral
behemoth
college. It's
in
it's
the electoral
massive.
college.
It really is. And I know that California pretty much like all the time in pretty much every election always is a blue
Yes,
state, and I'm thinking that maybe things are going to be a little fairer for the minorities politically in California if the state was split, because I
the
know
Republican
that
Party, that is.
most yeah most yeah the most since we only have 2 players, which sucks really in national politics anyway. I know that most conservative voters in California are more clustered towards the southern part. So even just splitting California into 2 states would make that group, which is huge, just not as big as the majority in California, since it's such a huge state, would make that group, you know, a bigger player in national politics, which is, I think, not like political views aside, I just want things to be
Hmm.
fair, The minority in this state politically is still so huge. It's such a huge portion of the population. It's just silenced because the other side is just bigger. And again, it's just they're 2 huge groups
Well,
anyway. I
what's
just want
interesting
things
is
to be fair, you know?
what I've seen a lot of is that California, in some people's eyes, is ungovernable because, like you were saying, there's just such a diversity of
Yeah.
revenue
Opinion.
sources.
Yeah, revenue sources. That's
Well,
right.
I'm just talking just economically.
Okay.
We have obviously Los Angeles and San Francisco. Those are 2 big
Two power players.
metropolitan, revenue sources. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have Central California, Northern California, where this agriculture is a big thing there. And in fact, if you drive down the 99, you'll see there's all kinds of signs saying, respect our water
Yeah, the
rights or
the water
whatever.
thing, yeah.
A
I
lot
have
of
seen that.
a lot of Northern Californians and California farmers are angry with Southern California because we use a lot of water and that gets shipped from various places. But that's a big issue. And in fact, I was just in Northern California like yesterday in as just about as far north as you can get, and it's just a lot of people think that what's going on in Sacramento is not favoring their lifestyle. And so from their perspective, they think that 3 Californias would be beneficial. How about you, Polo? What
Uh,
are your thoughts?
I'm gonna look at this not completely, not from a political side. Honestly, not from any side. I don't really
Any
have
side.
an opinion about whether we would split California, but it makes sense. All I would say is like the state's just too large. The state, you have the deserts, but then you go like 100 miles west or north, and then it's completely different region, and you're like, where am I? If
Yeah.
you
I'm
and
No.
just where am I all the time,
yeah,
so
like
Well, like I said, like I was in Northern California, and you're absolutely right because it is totally different from down here. It's the middle of the woods up there. It's like you're absolutely right. It is a very large and diverse state in many ways.
Yeah.
But
If you were to drop like the 3D viewing thing on Google Maps where you can view the street map thing.
mhm,
Street View?
Street view, yes. If you were
Yeah.
to drop that anywhere in California on any road just randomly, you would have almost no idea where you are. I
mhm.
mean, maybe besides the beach, but you would have no idea what state you are in.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to say, "Oh, I'm in California." You could be in Nevada or you could be in like Washington
There are some
or
parts where I
anywhere
think it's
really.
in Colorado. There are some parts where I don't even know if it's in the US. But no, it's in
There you go.
California. And I
Yeah.
think that's cool to have, but I see the problems with it. So I would vote for the split if this is on the November ballot for this year, right?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
So I would be eligible for it and I would vote for the
My
split.
my question here's what my question is. So California has I believe it's 10 UC campuses spread all and a lot of CSUs that are scattered all around the state as it is right now. And so if we were to split into 3 states, how would college work? You know what I'm saying? Like tuition prices, because if you go out of state for schools, the tuition is more expensive
Yeah, the tuition just
because
soars all the way up there.
and that's because you haven't been paying taxes in that state essentially. But what my question is that if you have people who have been paying taxes for, say, like for me, for UC Merced, uh, our taxes have been going to that school. And so hypothetically, if I were to go to that school out of state, would my tuition price rise? Or would there be maybe some just addendums to it for the first few years? How would that all work out is what I want to know. There are a lot of specific situations, I think, that bring up a lot of questions of how this whole three California thing would work, especially water, because we are
Water,
sitting.
because we are drought ridden.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah.
just talking about Grady's point with the California, the state schools and like taxes. I would if I was the school, I would have them hold back on the out of state extra tuition fees for at least like, I mean, you stay in school for 13 years, from K through 12, right? So I would guess they would hold it back for 13 years, like the next
Hmm.
13 years, and then after those 13 years, those students can't possibly be um like with that problem.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll
also, by the way, um, if this three California things gets passed, it's going to take a long time
Yeah,
for
it will. It
it
has to go to
to
Congress too.
finalize,
Yeah.
because all it is that if we vote on it, then essentially what's going to happen is if it gets passed, then we're asking the California government to ask the federal government to split us into 3 states. And even if the federal government does end up splitting us into 3 states, who knows how long that's going to take
Yeah.
to create 3 states out of this monster state of California.
The behemoth.
yeah.
Yes.
The Leviathan. Thomas Hobbes? What?
Thomas
Don't worry
You
about
Hobbes,
know,
it.
man.
I just
Thomas Hobbes.
remembered another problem that we had with this big state, you know. I was applying for the Naval Academy a couple months ago, and uh you had to get like recommendations from your senators and your representatives. And it always came back to me like, why am I asking for recommendations from someone who's in my state but is a day away, you know?
Yeah,
They don't know anything about you. They don't
Exactly.
know anything about where you come from, right?
you're
I
right.
mean, there is that thing, when you're like elected a representative of the US, you're elected a representative for this district that you come from.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what you were doing applying for recommendations from people from other districts, Polo, but I'm not gonna say anything about it.
What do you mean by that?
So yeah, like somebody a day away. I mean, we have shoot, Grady, can you look up how many representatives California has? It's gonna be some huge number, but I don't know
It
exactly
has,
what it is.
let me
Um,
see. They have the state of California has 53 representatives out of the
see,
435.
wow. Okay, yeah. See, that's
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 that's that's
uh
massive.
that's
That's
like
that's
an
huge.
eighth, I think, of the total. approximately an eighth, I think, of the entire.
Wow. One state, guys.
Yeah, I think California and New York are the biggest, right, representative wise.
Yeah.
Probably. Texas is probably in there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, but Texas is, you don't mess with Texas.
But see, the
You
thing
don't
with
mess with
Texas
Texas.
is I haven't been to Texas. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's just all
Neither have
desert,
I.
right?
It's
Texas.
not like Australia level all desert, but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's mostly desert.
Well,
See,
I think.
California is
Yeah.
not all desert. I can tell you that.
Oh no, no. Like I
Yeah,
said,
no.
I was in the middle of nowhere for basically because in Northern California there are a lot of small towns, and where I was staying in a town of 1,000 people in the middle of the Siskiyou woods, and so
There you
that
go.
is absolutely different from where I am right now, which is in Southern California.
Well, see, now you say that, right?
Hmm.
For when you talk about middle of nowhere for different regions, I don't know, but for California at least, you have no idea what the middle of nowhere means. Like
Yeah,
down here in Southern California, middle of nowhere means the desert. But if you're
yeah.
talking about Northern California, middle of
The
nowhere
forest.
means the middle of the woods.
And if you're talking about
Yeah.
Central, you're in middle of nowhere.
A farm.
Exactly.
You're in a farm.
Middle of the berry fields. There you are.
Yes.
Exactly.
Just chilling.
And I don't think we can have that.
Yeah.
I think middle of nowhere needs to be established as a specific place in a region.
But I do.
Yeah, the middle of nowhere in Central California is this and this.
Exactly.
But I do sort of like
So on and so
I
forth.
do like that ability of being able to go to most every environmental I can't think of the word region and like be able to go to any of those in California because I think we have a majority of them in the state of California because it's just so huge and it's this huge expanse of land. It's insane. But it's
I
cool.
think another problem that would come up just from a creator standpoint, like a filmmaker and like a filming standpoint is there's this thing called the 30-mile zone. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that.
I
Yeah,
have
no
no idea
idea.
what that is.
Okay, so basically the film companies in Hollywood are given about a 30-mile radius where they can have like their camera crews and actors go before they start changing the rules about how they have to work and like the laws, because the unions behind the camera crews and the models and actors for those big budget films all have rules that apply to the filming, and those rules change once you leave a 30-mile radius away from Hollywood, like a
Oh,
specific place in Hollywood. So the thing
Okay.
is, I I I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure that 30 miles away from that point in Los Angeles is no longer in the same state if we were to split up. And that would bring a lot of change,
that would. That's interesting because that would definitely affect the Hollywood industry, the movie industry, which is I.
which is a huge
Mhm.
industry here.
Which is a huge industry, which is why it's Central California, which is where it's Central California. Like the California that there's North California and South California that
And
they're trying to
South
make,
California being north
and then
of
California.
Central California.
Yeah, it's so weird. But anyway, yeah, that's where most of California, as we may know it in the future, would get
but the
most of its
question
revenue. Yeah,
is,
so
then who would California Girls by the Beach Boys? Who would that be referring to now? Oh my
Oh, you're
gosh,
right.
what's
oh
the deal
no,
there?
oh my, this is a real problem. This,
We're going to
listen,
have to
man,
sue.
all those songs, all those songs about California, literally, okay. This
Oh,
is
you
what
know
I
what?
have
That brings up
noticed
a
in
good
my
point too,
years
though.
of listening to music. This is what I've noticed though. My years of listening to music. Most songs, they either tell a story, or they're singing about a girl, or they're singing about California. Those are the only three topics for any given song. Literally, look up a song, and it's going to be one of those three things. And now that California may be split, what are we going to do? Are we going to have to sing songs about North California? Is that going to be different? Songs about South California?
No,
I don't know,
you
man.
bring
I'm
that
having
up.
an
You bring that up
existential
now.
crisis right now.
You bring that up now, though. I just You bring up California Girls. I'm assuming you're talking about the Beach
Yes.
Boys, right?
That's right.
Well, if you look at their lyrics, can you look at it this way? the Southern girls with the way they talk, is that different
Oh
from the
my gosh.
between the Southern
Whoa.
I think
California
they're
Wait,
region and the Northern
are you
California region?
suggesting?
I think they're
No,
talking
I
about the
think
antebellum South, but South
Well, it just
California maybe.
specifies
that
Southern
Polo.
Man,
girls, so
I
that
think
could be
Polo
oh
is
different.
boy,
suggesting that Brian Wilson is a political prophet,
a prophet.
and he very well may be. He's been predicting this since the '60s, man.
He
But
knew it all along.
We're gonna be sitting here in like 100 years, like with South California, Northern California, and California, and people are gonna be listening to that, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, the South California girls, the way they talk,
And the Northern
man."
California
And
girls with the
this,
way they kiss, and
oh
there it
my
is.
gosh! And
What are we gonna do about this?
and the Good Vibrations is going to be about the inevitable earthquake that's coming on the San
Yes,
Andreas Fault.
there is that.
So that's what that's for.
Man, and we're gonna have interstate like financial aid coming to victims of disasters because the
Oh
fault
man,
line
I
spans multiple states if this thing gets passed. Man,
if this happens, I'm going to be driving through 3 states to get home at college.
you're right.
Okay,
there you
like
go.
what the jeez.
I,
I
I used
I
to
don't
drive
need
through
that.
one, now I have to go through three.
I used to yeah in but I don't know how yeah like I said I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of logistical problems with this.
Yeah,
But I don't
yeah, it's funny.
obviously neither of us are experts on this, but
That's right.
I want to find
None
out
of us.
more about how this would affect the different sectors like prisons or education or social services, stuff like that. How would that all work out?
Yeah,
Because it just seems really
it's so funny. Yeah, it's like so funny. We were just sitting here thinking about they proposed this California thing, splitting it into three states, and now we're sitting here like, how many logistical issues are there with this? Because we've only touched on like three or four just in this episode, and our minds are already just being blown. Like we've touched
and I
political,
feel like there are
social,
already
cultural, economic, and we're just
as
still
it is
so many more to go.
I feel like there are already so many bureaucratic like just really small details that are really problematic. And if you
Yeah,
just like saw those documents in three, essentially, then what does that mean?
I just saw it in
Just saw it in three
just
forms,
literally take all the laws for California and just cut them in half, like uh, horizontally, and
And then
Southern California gets the bottom half of all the laws, and that applies to that state.
it's
Central California or California gets the middle half, right?
all right.
The middle
I
half. I'm
like
sorry, the
I
middle
like that.
third. And then Northern California gets the top half. So they mostly get the titles of the documents. Just Northern California is going to be a lawless
But
frontier.
that
And
already,
I
I
think
feel
it's
like
the
it
only
already is.
way we can have this going.
um,
I like it. I like it a lot.
you know,
It's genius.
but I don't know. I feel like
Listen,
you know what the big thing for me is I want to
it's
know
brilliant.
what the flags would be if they change. Okay, so look,
Classic
we got
Grady.
the state of California's flag at the moment is whatever. It's got just in case you didn't know it was California. It's got California printed across the bottom, so that helps.
There you go.
But how would that work? Because I don't know if that is really applicable to what would be the California of Los Angeles and a lot of the counties on the coast. I don't know if that flag is really applicable
Well, I'm
anymore.
going to tell you one thing, Grady. I know what the flag of Silicon Valley area will be. It will have the colors of Google. It will probably have an apple in there. It might
There you
have a
go.
rocket or a Tesla.
Oh,
So it
nice.
must have a combination of
You
those
know,
It's gonna have
three.
that little Samsung droid dude.
Yeah.
It's literally just gonna be a flag of just all these
And
different
actually, it
brands,
won't
and
even
that's
be
it.
fabric. It will actually just be a big screen on a pole.
There you go.
I wonder. That's interesting because Silicon Valley. That's like Santa Clara, San Francisco area,
Exactly.
correct? So that would be in what would be Northern California.
Actually,
So I wonder if those industries would really benefit the northern counties more than they do now, because it would all be predominantly focused on those counties. I wonder if that would affect the wealth concentration in that region.
Oh, you know what? I think we forgot to mention. Like, I know we were talking about how California's big, like just in population, but I think we forgot to mention how big it is economically. I just want to mention this stat. Like I think we all know, but this just blows my mind. California, not the U.S. California has the fifth largest economy in the world.
Who has the fourth?
I'm serious. Like, I don't know. It's probably some country in Asia.
Okay.
It's literally like I think U.S. is number one, then probably China or India or something, and then you go literally number 5 is the state of California.
You know what?
It's
I'm gonna
pretty
bring.
great.
You know what I'm gonna say? How about we just become our own country, and then we split up into 6 states?
And then we split up into
Calexit.
6. Okay.
That was proposed, but I wouldn't.
Kexit.
I don't think. I wouldn't. I would not want that
Why?
because we get a lot of water from Colorado, I believe.
Elon Musk
And,
can create some water for us. Don't worry. We have Elon Musk.
Don't worry.
Well,
He'll
aren't
break
there
the laws of physics to create matter.
aren't there
Not
ways?
just change its form, just create it and just water instantly. Poof. That's
Cool.
brilliant.
You know, I think he could do it. If anyone could do it, it's Elon Musk.
It's Elon Musk.
Or Polo.
You know what really bugs me? This is totally off topic, by the way.
Okay.
You know what really
We
bugs
don't
me?
have a topic, Grady. That's what's brilliant about it.
When analog watches, the ones with the numbers on that go all around. Well, it really
The
bugs me.
hands?
Yes,
Yeah.
the arms and the hands. When people wear those and they don't know how to read them. Okay, that I was at graduation a couple weeks ago, and there's this kid sitting next to me. You know, I wanted to know what time it was. Whatever, not a big deal. I didn't have my watch on me, so I was like, "Excuse me, sir, would you do the honor of telling me the time?" He said, "Oh, okay."
He asked him literally like that.
And he had his analog watch on his arm, and he said, "Okay, let me just pull out my phone."
Oh my god.
And I was like,
You have a watch right there, buddy.
And by the time he got his phone out, I had already figured out the time. It was one of those situations because I read his watch, and I was like, and he told me the time, so I said thanks anyway. But I was just like, come on, man. Like I had the decency to ask you what time it was, and you couldn't even read your own watch.
He gave you the privilege of telling the incredible Grady Thomson what time it was for that fleeting moment, and you couldn't even read your watch.
Yeah,
Uh,
that I don't like.
you know.
I don't know. That just bugs me.
However, a common solution to this
Is
Just
learn
have
how
your
to
own
read
watch.
an analog watch.
watches. Or learn how to read an
Or
analog
just have your own
but-
watch.
So
That's true.
So here, my watch. Let me tell you about it. I have my watch in my hand right now.
In your hand?
It's literally in
Why
my
not
hand.
on your wrist?
I'm actually
Like an
cradling
actual
it like a
watch.
baby because I'm at home and I have 3 clocks in
Okay.
my room. Anyway, so my watch, it's this combination of analog and digital, right? I actually really like it. You've got the hands and you have the little tick marks for the
Yeah.
hours. It doesn't actually have numbers on it, but on this tiny screen, literally like less than a centimeter across, on the left side of the watch, it has the time digitally. So you get the aesthetic of having the watch with hands.
Yes.
And if you want to read it like that, you still can. But you also have the convenience of a digital watch. And we're not sponsored. I'm not advertising this watch. I haven't told y'all what it is. But I'm
But
just
if they
saying I
offered
love it,
to-
and it's fantastic.
To sponsor us.
But if they offer,
We are open to sponsors.
Email, please, at
please sponsor us.
speakeasydudes@gmail.com, please. But no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Right now, I'm wearing a digital watch. Okay, I don't know if I have an analog watch, but I really like the look of analog watches more than digital watches. But that's not to say that digital watch don't have their merits. But I just
Yes.
think
Just why you
if
get
you're
the
gonna
combo.
strut around,
You get the best of both
if you're gonna
worlds.
strut around in an analog watch, okay, you gotta know how to read it. But then again, hey, who am I to control what you do in your life?
I don't know, Grady. Who are you?
Uh,
Fun fact, Grady is actually running Washington from his room. He actually set up a puppet government there. Trump is actually under Grady's control.
I
Um,
don't think I would want to take responsibility for that.
but see, the thing is, you have a fall guy. Literally the entire government. As long as people don't find out. Why are we on the subject of puppet governments? I don't know how we got here, guys. I'm
Because
just...
because Grady's keeping watch.
Oh
the
my
government.
gosh!
He's keeping watch.
And there are hands controlling it. You see, like hands on a
Grady,
watch.
Grady is big brother. There you
Hands
go.
on a watch. It's funny. It makes sense to
Grady
me.
Thomson is watching you.
No,
No, but you guys
I don't.
bring up a good point with the analog watches. Like I see a lot of people having stuff just for the looks, and they don't know how to use it. And that really bugs me.
Mhm.
Because analog watches, I believe, are more expensive than normal digital watches today. Am I right?
Well,
That
I
is
mean,
true.
sort of.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
You can
It's
get
kind of. I mean, like if you go to Walmart and you get that like $13 watch
you can
on the
get it.
stand there, that's
It's
like
sort of
But
an
like
of course,
analog
but
watch,
like
and it's
it's
like
sort of like brand,
if
I
you were to find
guess.
someone, if you were to find someone wearing an analog watch, they probably bought it because it looks cool,
Yes, that's why I would buy it.
right?
yeah. The more high class like designer watches, those are all
Yeah,
analog.
but
You know, I haven't seen any
Well, actually, there are a
high
lot of really.
class
Well, I mean, sort of.
digital
I
watch.
mean,
You know,
I think there
really?
are like
well, I mean,
there
depends
are
on what you call high class.
there are
Okay.
really fancy watches that are digital. I don't know if I should be saying the brands, but like Nixon, um, they have really nice watches that are digital because they're for surfers, and so there are fancy. There are some fancy digital watches. It just depends on the brand.
Yeah, I mean, depends on what you mean by fancy. I think
Hmm.
like the watch I have all the time is a digital. It's a smartwatch actually, but you know, I hate when people have
Maybe my perception is
I
skewed.
hate when people have analog watches, like nice analog watches, but don't know how to use it.
Mhm.
I hate that too. Like,
Ice on my wrist. That's
yeah,
it.
like a Rolex, okay? If you have a Rolex on your wrist, you better know how to use it. Because one, if you can afford that much, you should probably be smart enough to know how to read an analog watch.
Yeah.
Like, if you put the effort to get a Rolex, you should probably know how to read an analog watch.
hmm Unless it was just gifted to
And
you.
There you go.
yeah,
I
and if
mean,
you bought it, I'm assuming you tested if it works.
well, if you don't know how to read it, then you don't know.
Well,
You know,
actually, you know what?
it's like I don't know how to
Exactly.
read. I think it works. It's cool. I'll take it. I'll take the lot.
Yeah.
Just
But
take
that's
it.
yeah. I like I said, I'm not in a place to judge people for not being able to read analog watches. That's not my problem. If you can't read it, understandable. But it just bugs me when I ask people the time and they wear it and they don't know how to read their watch because it would be more convenient. And I know they're already doing me a service, but it's like, come on,
They're doing you a
we are
service.
living in a material world.
So learn how to use the materials.
Seize the
Oh,
means,
I was gonna finish the lyric by Madonna.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just go ahead. Just
Seize the means.
seize the means.
Well, I was gonna say, we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl.
Are you?
Except,
There you go.
well,
Are you?
no, I'm definitely not Madonna to say that, but
That's disappointing.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
You know what?
sometimes you just gotta.
Speaking of materials, kind of want to bring up another thing on our docket today. Piñatas.
Huh?
how does
Okay.
that relate to
Yes.
materials?
Piñatas
I'm
show
so
human
confused.
respect for authority is what I have here. Let's talk about that.
Yes, that's true. Um, may I take the reins on
Go
this one?
ahead.
Yeah, I have no
Well,
idea
okay.
what this is.
So I was at a birthday party, a child's birthday party, a couple weeks ago, I believe it was now. And of course, at child's birthday party, you have piñatas a lot of the time. And I was talking to my brother about this. So one of the things that little children want the most in this world is candy, right? Like it's kind of weird,
They're simple people.
but there's this childish
Well, most of them
fascination
at
for
least.
candy. And
Yes.
oh yeah, most of them.
I was an enlightened
and
child. I preferred vegetables personally.
Well, I wanted world peace, but
Yeah.
There you go.
yes,
But
candy.
all right. So kids, when they have a piñata, there's a bunch of candy behind cardboard and paper mache most of the time. And they have a stick. And all they have to do is take off their blindfold, jump up, grab the piñata, and take all the candy they could have ever wanted in the world. And they have a stick to defend themselves.
Well, not
Okay?
defend.
You see the situation.
There's-
I'm-
there-
No, I like it. I like it.
The
I like
best
defending
defense is
yourself.
offense.
This is great. You take the candy and you beat up anybody who comes
Okay?
near you.
Do you see
It's
the picture?
brilliant.
You're right.
Can you see what I'm painting
Yes.
here? Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
we see it.
they are-
It's great.
But you know why they do it? Because they have a respect for authority. Okay, and that just seemed interesting to me. It's like all the candy you ever wanted, it's right here. At a moment, you plan it right and it's yours. But no, they play by the rules, just like a lot of us do. a lot of the
A
time.
lot of us.
I'm
Most
not
of us,
advocating. I'm not. By the way,
sometimes.
I'm not advocating for a child, losing his mind and taking down a pinata. I'm just.
I thought you were gonna say I'm not advocating for following the rules, but
No, I am just saying it's just social commentary. Okay, this is social commentary. It's just interesting.
so what we need to put in place a system in the larger societal mind of respecting authority, much like the child respects their parents with the
I'm just
pinata.
Well, I'm just saying it's just a sign because I think a majority of the people in the world have a basic respect for authority and rules. I mean that's. I think we could all agree on that. Most people follow the rules and laws, but I think that the kids doing that is just a sign of that respect for authority, and it's just interesting. It's like, and by the way, a lot of time these kids at parties are already crazy hyper, so
That's right.
they're in the means. They have the mentality to stage a coup over their parents and just totally take.
With that stick, they have that stick there, man.
Yeah, like they are in a position of warfare, but they don't because they respect authority and they respect the rules, and so they put on the blindfold and they take three swipes at the pinata and they put it down with a peaceful transfer of power.
Now, if only we could get the world to respect the United
Well, no,
Nations.
you bring that up.
That'd be
You bring
something.
that up. The piñatas do show a human respect for authority in children, but as they become too educated,
Too
Like
educated.
myself,
when they become too educated,
Like all of us.
they realize that the authority is futile, and they do not need to show respect to gain everything they've ever wanted. And all they need to do is grab the
Brilliant.
piñata. Which comes to my next point is that we need to fix education
And
because
if I mean maybe
To teach people to respect
people
authority,
maybe three
like a pinata.
people
maybe three
gain too much
Californias would
power.
do that.
You know, you're right.
We just don't know.
Wait, they become too knowledgeable. Okay, so what you're saying, Polo, we need to fix education so people will actually learn less. It's brilliant. I like it.
I'm not
I
saying
like
I'm
it a
not.
lot.
You know, I won't disagree.
I'm not saying I'm not.
You
That would be
we have to
something.
regulate how
Just-
much we learn. Okay.
Who cares about pursuing knowledge? We just need to control the
Yep.
people.
Welcome
There you go.
to Eurasia.
Welcome to the
everyone.
Speak
And,
Easies.
yeah, this is taking a dark
And,
turn. This is
East
taking a
Asia.
dark turn.
I
We've become
listen, man.
we've just become a totalitarian podcast. You guys realize that?
Second
I
episode.
just want to point out to our viewers or listeners, the statements made by me are not the same statements shared by the views of Cade and Grady.
That's true.
Also mostly
And
satire.
you notice how quick we were to. You know how in last episode how quick I was to say that the whole cashew thing was not our policy, but then I totally it's just like, oh, joking around about totalitarian state. Like that's maybe that's a bad sign. But yes, no, these are not our official stances. This is a satire. But it's also
Mostly.
interesting.
Mostly satire.
Mostly.
But it is interesting, nonetheless. That childish respect for authority. Do you think childish is a good word for that? Because that sort of is a bad connotation.
The innocent respect for authority?
I think I
I
like
don't
that
know.
more. You know?
Yeah, because it's like, yeah. As a child, you don't really question your parents, ideally. But
Yeah. You know what
Ideally.
else you don't question?
what's that?
The time. You know, looking at the time, it looks like our time is almost up. So we started off this episode with the World Cup. It looks like Grady is rooting for Japan. Cade, you are,
I'm going for Iceland, my dude.
and I'm going for Peru for no reason at all.
I think next week we'll have the more accurate standings. But yeah.
Okay. We also moved on to splitting California, not into a country maybe, but into 3 Californias.
Very very interesting topic of discussion. I recommend to our listeners to become more informed about this and don't let this be your only knowledge on the topic.
Yes.
Yeah, this is not
Do
your
not let this be. Don't.
one-stop shop for information.
Yeah,
There you go.
this is just us talking about Three California. So before you vote on November, just become more informed on it, please.
Please don't just go with us. We actually know nothing. I know that I know nothing. Who was that? Rene Descartes? I don't know.
And from there, we went into analog watches
And Piñatas.
and totalitarianism, but we won't talk about that right now.
And I mean, overall, it was a pretty constructive conversation, I think.
And with that, thanks for listening. This was episode 2 of the Speak Easies.